The Las Vegas Raiders could be signing Ndamukong Suh, the defensive tackle who played with the Buccaneers the past 2 seasons. Now, the Buccaneers have recently signed Akiem Hicks at defensive tackle, which closes the door on them signing Ndamukong Suh. This was reported by Pro Football Talk this morning. Akiem Hicks is set to make up to $10 million a year. Suh last year, Suh, you guys let me know. Suh last year made $6 million, roughly over $6 million. That's Darren Waller money. That's not too much money, right, Raider Nation? But he made that much money last year. Akiem Hicks making a lot more than that. So it is a curious situation that the Bucs decided to go with Akiem Hicks instead of Suh. However, this opens the door for the Raiders to pursue Ndamukong Suh, and they have been players. I mean, it's been reported just this morning by Brad Stainbrook, and he reported earlier this May that the Browns, the Bucs, and the Raiders are the key players interested in Ndamukong Suh. We expect maybe some signings to happen after the post-June 1st cuts. After the post-June 1st cuts, you're going to have some cap opening up with the Nassib release taken into effect along with the Corey Littleton release. And we could really sign Suh, especially if the Bucs are no longer players. The Browns reportedly are out, according to Stainbrook. The Browns are no longer going to be players in these Suh sweepstakes. And really, when you look at our roster, is there still a glaring need at defensive tackle? I would not say glaring, but it's definitely a position to upgrade. Yes, we have some good depth at nose tackle. You have Jonathan Hankins there as the starting nose tackle, with Neil Farrell Jr., the rookie out of LSU, being the backup nose tackle. However, when it comes to that 3-tech defensive tackle spot, you have Bilal Nichols there, and then you also have Matthew Butler, and that is, some decent depth as well. But if you're going to be running this 3-4 base defense, which seems very likely since Cleveland Farrell said he's an outside linebacker, Crosby's going to be an outside linebacker along with Chandler Jones, you're going to need some heavier defensive ends. I mean, that's just typically what happens in this type of defense. If you look at Patrick Graham's defensive ends, they are quite heavy, 290 pounds plus. So you can have somebody like Suh play defensive end, and he did with the Buccaneers, play defensive end at times, sometimes play defensive tackle. When you look at his snap count, it's pretty much split 50-50, 350 snaps on top of the tackle and 350 snaps, at defensive tackle. So this guy's versatile. He could play that, end role. You could really imagine a base defense, a front seven for the Raiders, where your 2 defensive ends are Bilal Nichols and Ndamukong Suh, and then your defensive tackle, your nose tackle, could be somebody like Jonathan Hankins. That's totally possible, and especially if you have a sub defense, you can have Ndamukong Suh and Bilal Nichols on the inside with Crosby and Chandler Jones on the outside. That would be a great defensive line, in my opinion. I think Bilal Nichols is going to do great this year, the former Bear, $5.5 million for the Raiders. But Suh, he is going to be looking to get paid. Obviously, he wants to make as much money as he made last year, that $6.6 million. And the Raiders could totally oblige him since they're going to have $25 million in cap space after these June 1st cuts. Sean Reed of The Athletic was reporting that could be their cap space after these cuts. And really, it opens the door for a lot of players you can sign. But when you look at the available players, on the market right now, there's nobody who really pops that you could say is going to instantly contribute to this team and make this team better. And I think Suh is probably the only player, based on his production the past 2 years. This guy has played over 700 snaps. That's really good. Literally, he's never gone under 700 snaps in his entire career. Suh has managed to stay incredibly healthy throughout his 12-year career. And when you can add a veteran like that, who's matured. I mean, last year he had penalties have always been the problem with Suh, and getting ejected, having rage issues. You like the rage, but you got to control the rage, right? And look, he had 3 penalties last year. The year prior in 2020, he had 7 penalties, and he played roughly the same amount of snaps. So he brought down his penalties by 100%. So you got to like that from Suh. 6'4", 313 pounds, big guy, but pretty quick for his size. 5.40 time. Selected at number 2 overall pick in the first round by the Detroit Lions in 2010. Long-term veteran, somebody who could teach Matthew Butler the ropes, who could teach Neil Farrell Jr. the ropes. And sometimes you got to bring in a nasty veteran to show people the ropes. We remember Richie Incognito, right? We all love Richie Incognito. And yes, he didn't stay healthy. He had a great year in 2019. Didn't stay healthy. But what did he do? he showed people the ropes, right? He trained people like Colton Miller how to be a nasty offensive lineman. And that's exactly what Ndamukong Suh can do for the Raiders defensive linemen, especially these two young rookies that we drafted, Neil Farrell Jr. and Matthew Butler. Ndamukong Suh, the past 2 years, has picked up 6 sacks each in the past 2 years. Very impressive stuff. 37 pressures last year with 6 sacks. In 2020, he had 50 pressures with 6 sacks. That's some great production for a defensive tackle, especially a guy who's versatile, can move around on your defensive line. And I expect the Raiders to try to make a move for this guy. I really do, especially now that the Bucs are out of it and the Browns apparently are out of it. His price could maybe even go below $6 million. If you're being quite frank, you can say, all right, the Bucs signed Akiem Hicks, so you really can't be asking for $6 million because we know there's not other candidates to go out there and get you Ndamukong Suh. So you can maybe get this guy for $5 million. Who knows? Either way, we'll have the cash to afford that $6 million. And I think since we only have Vernon Butler at defensive tackle, Matthew Butler, the rookie, Bilal Nichols, we really do need somebody who's a for sure starter, a for sure guy that you can have 100% confidence in week in and week out. And I think he is the guy. And also, we still got to worry about injuries. I mean, somebody's going to go down. And if you have somebody like Suh training somebody like Matthew Butler, if, Lord forbid somebody goes down, Matthew Butler will probably be that much more ready to play rather than just being thrown into the fire, the 4th round pick out of Tennessee. I think that would be a great move. Let me know what you guys think. I think we're going to wake up tomorrow. June 1st cuts are tomorrow. I think we're going to wake up tomorrow and possibly see this move happening. Let me know how likely you think this move is going to happen. Let me know how much you think the Raiders should fork out for Suh. Should they fork out the $6.6 million he made last year, according to Spotrac? Should they go all in? Actually, it's $6.8 million. Go all in on Ndamukong Suh. Like this video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the Raiders Rundown for more Raiders news. This is WiFiWillie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.